Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show today, episode 252. It is Friday, March 26th. I'm your host, Kellen, with Tim. Tim, say hi.
Hey guys, what's up? Tim here, back again to rock.
Good to be with you. I think we mentioned at the end of last show we might do two weeks in a row, and look at us. This is big. Two weeks in a row. So on this show, though, it's gonna be a little bit different than normal. I should probably just say first off, for those who want to just exit the building right now, no trivia this week. We're skipping trivia because we just want to talk about OnePlus phones and just kind of focus there and just breathe for a second on trivia. But yeah, we do have
got
these
phones.
guys. Yeah, we do. So I apologize for that. We're not doing trivia this week. It's all right. We'll be back with trivia. Don't worry. We don't skip very many. But we do want to just talk about OnePlus 9 series and briefly the OnePlus Watch, which, we showed you last week. This is not it. This is not it. Same amazement. So OnePlus 9, OnePlus 9 Pro is what we'll talk about. So we're just going to run through that stuff, sort of like a review-ish, because we've had the phones for a while. We just haven't put the words on paper yet, which we will probably. Next week I think is when we're gonna try to post both of those. So that's kind of what we want to focus on. It's the big story of the week, and then the watch. Before we get going, though, shout out once again to the folks at eWin for sponsoring this podcast, this show, the chairs that we are always sitting in, that we have been for like over a year now. Still, with the code DroidLife, will get you an extra 30% off. Again, that's like a $300 chair for around $200. They're often running discounts too. You can slide our code in there. Sometimes it gets you really ridiculous pricing. eWin's just been holding it down for us in the chair department. Anyway, Droid Life, 30% off.
Yeah, DroidLife at checkout, 30% off. You can't really beat that. I dare you to try. Definitely check out eWin racing chairs.
Okay, so OnePlus 9 stuff. It is the story of the week. It's OnePlus's moment. So there's a lot going on here because I want to talk a little bit about like where OnePlus has gone. I think last week we actually mentioned how they've lost their identity a little bit, at least that original identity, and kind of where they are now. And I think we can probably continue that conversation a little bit. But we'll talk to you about pricing and release date, when you can buy all of that stuff. And then Tim and I just want to, share those thoughts on, because we really haven't. I don't know. Is this like our third week with the phones? Second full week? We've had the phones for
a week.
Yeah, we've had the phones for quite a while. He has the 9 and I have the 9 Pro. And they're very similar, but there's a couple of differences that you should know about. Obviously the price, but there's a couple other differences. So we'll get there. And then, we'll wrap it up with a little bit of watch talk, your guys' favorite section of every show, hands down. Okay, so OnePlus announced the phones this week. They've been teasing these for a long time. OnePlus is like the king of not spending a dollar on advertising and just using the power of their voice on the internet to let you know about everything. So the OnePlus 9 series is the OnePlus 9, the OnePlus 9 Pro. You guys know that. For prices, we have $729 starting price for the OnePlus 9, and then it tops out at $829, so $100 more. That gets you 8 gig RAM and 128 gig storage at $729, and then for another $100, you could add 4 more gig of RAM, so 12 gig RAM, and double the storage to 256. For the 9 Pro, which is this guy, starts at $969, and that's also the 8 gig 128 gig combo. And then this model I actually have is fully spec'd out, so another $100, which takes us over the $1,000 price point to $1,069, 12 gig 256 gig storage. It's kind of what they've done for a couple years, so it makes sense. But we are at another increase. The 8 Pro last year started at $899. And then topped out, I think, right at $999. I can't remember offhand what the 8 price was. The 8 price $599, $699, or was it $699, $799? It might have been $699, $799. Yeah, because we're up to $729. So kind of a $30 increase, and then a $70. Look, they packed a lot of specs in. We'll get to that in a second. So anyway, if you want the top of the line OnePlus 9 Pro, we are not like well over $1,000, but we're over $1,000 now. So we're getting it
Ridiculous.
there. Yeah. As far as specs go, OnePlus didn't really hold back. They kind of gave us everything and everything you would expect from sort of a modern phone. They haven't done headphone jacks for a while and SD cards. I don't know that they've ever really done those except in their really cheap phones. So I'm not going to waste time complaining about those, but they added the newest of the new. Obviously, the camera is going to be a big focus with the Hasselblad partnership. But like this 9 Pro has, the QHD with 120 hertz. Tim's lesser of a phone, not by much. 1080p, but also still 120 hertz. They both have Snapdragon 888s. I talked about the RAM and storage configurations. On the camera, this has a quad camera. Yours has triple camera, I believe. So the big thing there is the Hasselblad partnership. So this camera is the Sony IMX789, which to most people doesn't mean anything, but it's just sort of the newest Sony sensor. They said they developed it in custom with Sony, and so you've got that. And then it has a 50 megapixel wide angle lens. The OnePlus 9 that Tim has, it doesn't have the same 48 megapixel sensor, but it has the same one that was in last year's OnePlus 8 Pro, which was excellent. So you're not really getting a lesser camera necessarily. It's not the newest of the new sensor, but it's last year. And the OnePlus 8 Pro had a ridiculously good camera. So, but then the wide angle at 50 megapixel is the same. They both have the same 50 megapixel wide angle. And then they both have a monochrome sensor. And then this also has an 8 megapixel telephoto, which you'll probably never use because it's, not very good. 8K video, front camera at 16 megapixel on both. They both have the same size battery at 4,500 milliamp hour. The OnePlus 9, it does seem weird that they're the same size. I figured this one might be bigger because it is a slightly bigger phone. This thing does 65 watt wired charging. So does the regular 9. This thing also, though, does Warp Charge 50 wireless charging. So 50 watt wireless charging. The one you have tops out at 15 watt wireless charging. So there's one of those differences. And yes, 50 watt wireless charging is ridiculous. I actually have the charger right here. Look at this thing. This is a 50 watt wireless charger. It's a big old wireless charger. And it has a fan in it.
It's got a booty on it.
Yeah, see, there's the fan. You can actually see it right there. And it's kind of like last year, I think it was 30 watt. And now they're up to 50. I've used it several times. It charges stupid fast, like way faster than anyone's wired charger does. And the phone doesn't get hot, and they're doing some magic there. It still worries the shit out of me, but it's fast. In-display fingerprint readers. They both have Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2 and NFC. Alert sliders. They both have stereo speakers, Dolby Atmos, all of that stuff. They're very, very similar. The only issue I would say in terms of like style design wise is that one is plastic as hell. This one is glass and metal. I got the ugly silver version. They also make a pine green version, which I think is quite hot, and a sort of matte textured black for this one. The black one is not coming here, but this silver and pine green are. You can see this thing. They call it morning mist, and it does kind of look like a foggy window that then gets clear and then it mirrors. And you can see I don't have a ton of fingerprint. I mean, right now I actually do, but mostly I don't. And then Tim's old 9 there comes in that black, which is just stupidly like plastic.
It's like a bluish. It's definitely a bluish tint to it.
Yeah. Well, they also make a blue version, which isn't coming here. And then there's a purple version that is coming here. So they left out a couple of colors, whatever. That's kind of the story of the specs. The cameras, again, the Hasselblad partnership. OnePlus wants to talk about how, they've done that annoying thing where they branded everything. So it's Hasselblad camera for mobile is the experience. But then there's a pro mode, which is called like Hasselblad Pro camera for mobile or something. And then there's like this natural color sort of tuning they've done. And that's called like Hasselblad natural color tuning for OnePlus. I mean, like they branded every stupid little thing. They put an orange shutter button to mimic sort of Hasselblad branding. The cameras, they're pretty good. I would say they're pretty good. I don't think there's disappointment there. I know I'm sort of hesitating and saying like they're amazing. I don't think I have complaints with the cameras. Do you?
I don't necessarily have complaints. I mean, I knew what I was kind of expecting, at least with the OnePlus 8 Pro. Like, that's a good camera system. So having essentially what's that system on this device is totally fine. I think if anything, you would be the one to sort of at least have maybe a different take, because it's a, it's like a reworked system, has a different
Yeah.
sensor. And from what I've seen so far, Kellen has been taking a ton of pictures and putting them in a folder, like on Google Photos that I can see. And I've seen nothing but good shots from this phone so far, like really impressive, especially when compared at least to the Pixel 5. And even the, when I compare the Galaxy S21 Ultra and the OnePlus 9, I mean, there's a little bit of discrepancy, I'd say, especially in like exposure levels. But you're talking about a $1,200 phone versus a $700 phone, so I guess I'd expect a little bit of difference. But I mean, really, the OnePlus 9 holds up just fine. It does your 8K video recording, your 4K at 30. Like it's got all the features you want, all the pro features, plus all the other different types of shooting modes. So when it comes to the camera, I haven't had any issues.
Yeah, so one thing you guys may want to do if you haven't already is Tim posted this big camera comparison of the OnePlus 9 versus the Pixel 5 versus the S21 Ultra, and then at the bottom of it, I took a handful of comparisons of Pixel 5 to the OnePlus 9 Pro, and then when we post reviews, we'll have more samples and have more sort of analysis there of sort of our thoughts. But for now, if you want to just go look, and I advise that you do, go just thumb through the comparison, especially the ones he took where it's OnePlus 9, S21 Ultra, and then Pixel 5, because depending on the scene, they're all very different. But there isn't I think I might argue the S21 Ultra is the like winner of that. Not that it was like a showdown battle to the death, but the S21 Ultra, I liked the colors in a lot of the photos, but there was still times where like the Pixel 5 took the best photo. And then there was plenty of times where the OnePlus 9 took the best photo. I mean, we're at the point where mobile cameras are so good, down to Google's old ass sensor that's like 3 or 4 years old or 5 years old or whatever, and the newest of the new, which OnePlus used and which Samsung is using. And because just the way they've learned to process imagery, like it all looks pretty good, but they all still have their sort of quirks at what they're better at. So again, I'm not trying to discount the OnePlus 9 Pro's camera, because I haven't like fully just like dived in and been like, are these great photos or not? I think it takes pretty darn good photos. And like Tim said, I've been adding to this like shared folder we have, which I might just open that up to everyone to look at if they want. But
totally.
I took a whole bunch of photos, and they all look like it took some pretty impressive photos on like a little hike I did the other day. And I was at the Oregon coast yesterday and took more. So I think it's a really good camera. And then it has all the bells and whistles. It has 8K at 30 frames. It does 4K up to 120. So like the regular OnePlus 9 doesn't do 4K at 120. This one does. You can do 4K at 120 frames per second. There's pro modes and portrait modes and all of that stuff. It has everything. It has a nightscape mode, which I actually need to test a little bit more. But so the cameras were the big story, right? This is what OnePlus has been talking about. The whole thing was about their Hasselblad partnership and how they're investing money and all. Do you think they delivered on, I don't want to say the hype, because that word's just annoying, but did they deliver on what they've been talking about? Like, do you think OnePlus is caught up? Did they produce better than you thought? Like what? Like, because they've been talking about it nonstop.
On the OnePlus 9, and that's the only phone I can speak to personally, like it looks good. I wouldn't say like okay, here's probably maybe an unpopular opinion, but like screw Hasselblad. They were famous for something they did like 60 years ago. I don't know anything about them. I know they have like a rich history in photography, but I don't know anyone who's going out and like buying Hasselblads, and like there's no YouTubers out here using Hasselblads, at least for like, Marquez. It's like, I don't get it. Personally, I'm not a huge photographer. I use Sony cameras. I use a Sony camera for this. So I just use the alpha stuff. I don't know anything about Hasselblad. So no, like, am I blown away about what OnePlus did with Hasselblad? No. And when they talk about it, they talk about color accuracy or things like, I don't know, like I put this phone up against the Pixel 5 and the S21 Ultra, and I don't notice any like big like, wow, look at that color accuracy. Like the Pixel 5 still blows everything else away in the contrast game. So no, I wouldn't say they necessarily met up with the hype, and no, I don't expect them to like make some crazy improvements over the next few years. Like the last thing Hasselblad did for mobile was the Moto mod on what are the
Oh
and
my
that
God, that
thing
was awful.
sucked. Yeah,
Yeah, it
so
did
like
suck.
no, like Hasselblad hasn't blown me away, and I don't expect them to. And like no offense to Hasselblad, I'm sure they make great cameras, but like I'm a
I
young
just
guy.
trashed you, but no offense.
I don't know anything about Hasselblad. I know they took some moon photos. I mean, was that even real? Like that was like, sorry, I'm not
Nice.
gonna go there, but
I know, but it's always a great show when you get some moon truther action going. You gotta love that.
absolutely.
Right?
I got my tinfoil hat around here somewhere, but no. The point being is, they take good photos. Plus 9 takes great photos. OnePlus 9 Pro take good photos. However, hyped up to the point that they do, I have no idea. I mean, I wouldn't say so. I mean, they take good photos though, and that's the main takeaway. That's the only thing I care about is that they do take good photos. So
I think one of the things I typically come back to in reviewing a phone is, do I trust this everywhere? Like when I'm reviewing a camera, I go, okay, I'm on a trip. Like I just took a couple of road trips, and you bring a camera because you want to take lots of pictures. Do I trust this camera to be the best one I can have on me, or to
no,
take good photos that I'll appreciate? Well, so this camera, I do feel like that. Like
yours totally. Yeah.
I do feel like I could take the OnePlus 9 Pro and know that a bunch of photos I take, it's going to take good photos. I think I've been mostly happy and impressed with the photo experience on this phone. Again, when we're talking about, is it the best new, most advanced camera system ever in mobile, and it stomps on Samsung and Google and everybody else? I mean, I don't think it does. I think it matches them. It might best them in some areas while they best it in others. I think it puts them right there where they need to be, where you can take pictures on a OnePlus 9 Pro phone and get some very impressive stuff and say, look, this picture is better than the one you took on your S21. And then that S21 person will go, well, look at this one I took, which is better. And I think that's fine. I think it's where they needed to get to was the level of Samsung and possibly Google's old hardware. And I feel like they've probably done that, which is a win for OnePlus. I mean, this is the first round of this Hasselblad partnership, which I'm kind of with you. Does it really mean anything that they partner with Hasselblad? I don't know.
No, they don't. Like, so here's the thing. Take away the Hasselblad name, take away the partnership. Would the 9 and the 9 Pro be taking the same photos as they are right now? Yes.
Yeah.
So really like as Kyle in the chat says, they're just probably using the name for recognition. It's just a name. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So I don't know exactly what we should have expected or anything like. I mean, like, I don't know. I didn't really expect anything in the first place, but
that's the problem when you spend 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it's been talking about Hasselblad and this partnership and what you're going to do and all the money you're investing. You set yourself up for maybe something you weren't ever going to achieve. So the unfortunate thing for them is I don't think we've seen any massive leap forward. Again, the OnePlus 8 Pro, go back and look at my review of that thing. The camera on that phone was stupid good. And it's the same lens or sensor that's in the OnePlus 9 Tim's been reviewing. This is just a newer, improved one in the 9 Pro, and it's very good as well. But yeah, when you talk about this partnership, so that's the thing is like next year, there's no excuse. If they don't deliver the most ultimate camera experience that stomps on everyone ever with Hasselblad branding all over it, because next year they'll actually develop with Hasselblad, unlike this one where they just kind of tuned the app and processing, then then it might be a failure. Right now, I think this camera's really good. I think they did a good job at that. If anyone cares about the Hasselblad name, then sure, maybe that's a bonus.
If anyone's winning here, it's Sony and their IMX sensors. I mean, like they're the ones doing all the work. Like I don't know, they make the stuff. So I don't know, like Hasselblad or OnePlus taking credit for what Sony's doing. I don't know. My personal opinion.
If the next camera really sucks? Does OnePlus just blame Hasselblad and then move on from the partnership?
You better. I mean, like, right? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And again, I don't want to, what I said previously. I'm more joking about, Hasselblad. I don't want anyone to think that I'm out here a Hasselblad hater. I'm sure they make fantastic cameras, and I know they're very expensive cameras,
They
but
are.
Hasselblad is known for being the camera that went to the moon, taking amazing shots back in 1969. And since then, I don't know, I mean, they, in terms of pop culture, I just don't know how much relevance they have, besides being like that prestigious name. So, and
Yeah.
for that, I can appreciate it. But I think if you just take a survey of random people who were out there buying a smartphone, hey, like OnePlus partnered with Hasselblad for their camera system. Like, what does that mean to you? Not a damn thing. So
You
I
mentioned
don't.
you mentioned Sony and like the sensor that's in everyone's smartphone. The smart play would be for Sony to shut down their awful phone business that no one buys,
Oh,
and then license Sony Alpha branding to someone like OnePlus. If you had a OnePlus that was Sony Alpha branded camera, you would probably buy that. But
oh yeah.
Hasselblad, I don't know if Hasselblad's a meaningful enough thing. And most of the people, including myself, you have to like learn the history of Hasselblad for it to even matter. And do people really want to go look up the history of Hasselblad to care? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe you and I aren't judging this properly, but if you're not a history buff on cameras, you don't care who Hasselblad is. But
Totally. And
maybe you will now.
yeah, and I will say, like boutique camera makers such as Red, we've seen what they do when they say,
Oh
"Oh,
my
we're
gosh,
we're
yeah.
gonna make our own phone," in the hydrogen one, and it ends up being the biggest abomination of smartphones ever, worse than the Sega's V2, and that phone didn't even release. So there's just like maybe Hasselblad learned like a valuable lesson from Red, and was like, you know what? They did their own camera or their own camera phone thing, and it was trash. We're not even going to try that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe props to Hasselblad for just partnering and wanting to do it this way. I don't know.
Yeah, so I guess like my final takeaway is that the cameras on these phones are really good. OnePlus 9 camera, OnePlus 9
yeah.
Pro camera in particular is very, very good. If you buy these phones, the cameras will be good. I think you'll be impressed. I think you'll be happy with them. I think what we're sort of ending this on is the Hasselblad stuff. I don't think it matters this year. I think next year will be where we might see them actually do something. Them tuning the color to be more natural and match sort of a Hasselblad profile. Sure. That's great. Most of the people that are going to care about having the most ultra natural specific photos are going to be pro photographers, and they're going to fire up the pro mode and tweak things anyway and shoot in RAW and edit after the fact. And, I don't think that's most of us. So if that's the big selling feature, I think you should probably just ignore it and just look at what everyone's photos look like in auto mode, because that's probably going to give you what you're going to get every time you pull out the camera.
Yeah. Kyle was asking about the zoom. Not entirely sure about the 9 Pro, but I mean the max zoom on the 9 I think is 10x, and like it's okay. I've got an example in the my camera comparison, but if you want zoom, like get the Galaxy S21 Ultra and like 100x optical, and you could literally like read the name of a ship that was across a river, like half a mile away. I mean, what Samsung's doing is impressive, while as not, it's innovative. Not that I use it and I talk trash about space zoom constantly, but like it works.
Yeah.
And so if you're worried about zoom, like get a phone that's catered to doing zoom.
Yeah, this phone isn't big on the zoom. There's an 8 megapixel telephoto and it zooms a little bit, but I think I took a couple of photos with it and moved on, because it's just like your classic cheap 8 megapixel telephoto that's been in thousands of phones, I think.
Yeah, on my phone, like when I'm just personally, I never go over like 2x, 3x tops. I mean, like just because
the only ones
always,
you can is
just
a Samsung
look
phone.
bad. Exactly. Yeah. They just don't look good. So,
like the 8 megapixel, like OnePlus cares so little about it. They didn't even tell us what Sony sensor it was. Like with the 48 megapixel main and then the 50 megapixel ultra wide on both phones, they were like, this is the specific Sony sensor we're using. For the 8 megapixel and the monochrome, they don't even tell you, because they're like, these are just there in case, like, don't worry about these. Just use the other two mostly, in case that helps sell you on that. Before we move on, we had a couple donations.
Oh. All right.
I do not know how to say this. Majhatasal. I don't know if it's all supposed to be together, but $4.99 first donor.
Maj hates all.
Oh, maybe it's Maj hates all.
I think
That could be too.
I think so.
It was like all the lowercase, but it could be Mosh hates all.
He got
Gosh,
you. He got you.
Mosh. Just gonna say the two things the tech community is scared to say. One, the 9 Pro is 2 features from being the 8T Pro.
Dude, yeah.
This phone is the finest of mid.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maj back again. 399 dono. Oh, and I missed donating to y'all. Hey, thanks for the 2 donos.
Nice.
I think we can maybe talk about like it being just an upgraded 8T Pro or something, but
totally.
We'll get to there. Appreciate the 2 donos. And before we actually started the show, Charles dropped by and dropped $50. I don't know if when you guys all joined, if you saw the dono sitting there, because a dono like that will sit for a while. $50. It is Maj hates all. All right, Maj, I gotcha. That totally makes sense. It's sorry. Yeah, $50 dono. So anyway, thanks for the donos, everyone.
Yeah, real quick, I could talk about 9 Pro is 2 features from being the 8T Pro. Thankfully, I was really thinking I'm glad that I'm not the one reviewing the OnePlus 9 Pro, because I would have to sort of like maybe justify or talk about why OnePlus is charging over $1,000 for this device when it's not, in my opinion, worth that.
Really?
I don't see that being $1,000 plus phone. It depends on what you value, right? Like, it's got the specs. It's got the 880A with the 120 hertz and quad HD, all the RAMs, 4,500 milliamp hour battery though. Like, it's got the fast charging, but like the the
software's better than Samsung's.
But you're never gonna get an update after a year.
Well, that's true, but I don't think they factor that into the price. Well, maybe they do.
They should, man. Especially and like it's just maybe Todd is talking about, but it looks so generic. Like, it just doesn't look that good of a device. Like, I would rock the 21 Plus over that any day of the week. Maybe if it was the green one, it'd be a different conversation.
It's definitely not the prettiest phone I've ever held. That's for sure.
No,
it has a curved display.
We're talking about OnePlus though. OnePlus should be the king of like the mid-range or the low-end phones. And now they're in this $1,000 plus phone with Samsung, and only Samsung can do it, man. They're the only ones who can retain that value.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about in that sort of opening, right? Where we talked about how OnePlus is lost, and we could just start talking about this now. Sure. Where OnePlus has kind of lost who they are. You're still under the mindset that OnePlus makes $700 flagship phones, whereas they don't want you to think of them as that anymore, right? At least that's sort of the sense that I get from them, is they're like, we aren't the flagship killer or whatever they used to call themselves, right? Where we make $700 phones or $500 phones or whatever they were at one point. They just want to be Samsung. Like, they think they make $1,000 phones now, and they think they're good enough that you should or will just pay for them in the way that you do a Samsung phone. And I don't know if that's the right move. I think Pete Lau tweeted yesterday or this morning that this launch, they sold 324% more 9 Pro pre-orders than they did 8 Pro. And it's like, well, last year we were at the beginning of a pandemic, but so he's suggesting that people really want to buy their $1,000 phone. And for pre-orders in the US right now, you can only buy the maxed out version that is $1,070. So I think that's what we're going to find out is OnePlus on the level with Samsung, and do we all view them as such, or do we think like you still picture them as the company who should still be selling maybe $800 a version of this, right? With all these specs, like you think this Pro should be priced at where the 9 is sort of what my assumption is.
Maybe not that low. Like if the 9 Pro was $899, they could make a killing. Or $949 tops, like maybe for the spec'd out one. I'm just not I'm used to OnePlus giving us all those specs, maybe missing one thing or two, and being able to like undercut everybody else.
Yeah.
They're not even trying to do that now.
No, they're not.
Which is what I guess I miss about OnePlus. And that's what I think, obviously I'm, 10 years ago with the original OnePlus, they gave us like a great phone and it was like $50. So I'm not expecting that. But I am expecting them to give us everything we want and still come in under everyone else. Maybe it's just not realistic anymore, but that's what I expect from OnePlus. And especially if we have them stop supporting devices after a year. And by that, I mean not
quickly after a year. Yeah.
Right. It just feels like they stopped supporting them, basically.
I mean, I think they still only are committing to 2 big software updates, and the second one takes way too long. So,
and if you're someone who buys a device hoping to use it for 2-3 years, actually get some life out of it, that stuff, it matters. It may not matter in the first 12 months. You don't really think about it, but once these new versions of Android start popping out, and you aren't seeing them until 6-8 months down the road. I mean, that kind of sucks, because at one point that was the most expensive device that company ever released, and all of a sudden you're getting treated like a coach passenger. I don't fly coach, so not cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you are buying $1,000 phone, you kind of, as a company, I should say, as a company, if you're selling $1,000 phone, I feel like you owe a little bit more. If you're asking your customers to pay $1,000, you should support it for more than 2 years for sure. If you're selling a $500 phone and you don't want to because that's not in the budget, I sort of get that, but $1,000 flagship phone. So I think that's the big issue that OnePlus has to see if they can be successful at is, are they Samsung? Like, do people view them as Samsung? And I'm kind of like, I'm not trying to be on their side right now. I'm just saying this is where I think they want you to look at them. Whereas I would argue that the majority of us are with you. They don't want OnePlus to be the $1,000 because we want to just pay $800 and be. That was what made them magical, if you want to call it that, right? Those early years. That was what was so great about those early years is you got so much phone for $400 or $500 cheaper than everyone else. And now we're like, well, wait a minute. You're not the $1,000 phone company. We didn't grow up with you as the $1,000 phone company.
Yeah, we don't know this OnePlus. I will say, I mean, the OnePlus 9 Pro has got some killer features. It's got some things that other companies aren't offering and couldn't offer, right? If Google tried to set out and make $1,000 plus smartphone, I'm sure they'd fall on their face doing something stupid.
Yes.
So the 65, the quick charging. How about this? More so let me phrase it this way. If you want the quick charging, the 120 hertz, and the performance of a OnePlus device, and they do have great performance, like somehow they tweak things with the software, and it's just buttery smooth constantly with that 120 hertz. It's unlike any other device. It's different. Oh, it hits different.
Yeah.
So if you want all that, just get the OnePlus 9. It starts at $729 or something. Like, it's just get that phone. You don't need the 9 Pro, at least for this calendar year. I don't see why you'd go spending all that money for RAM that's not even doing anything for you. 9 is super fast.
Well, you could get the same configuration with the 9, and for what, what did I say, $829? $829, you get 12.
More. Yeah.
You get 12 gig, 256, and the only things you're not getting in the 9 is the newest of the new main sensor, but you have the 8 Pros, which was great. Sure. And you don't get the super fast wireless charging, but who cares? You get super fast wired, and then it's plastic. But I am actually curious on your thoughts on that, because you've used it, and when I unboxed that thing, it felt cheap as hell. I was like, this is gross. But you've now had it for a couple weeks, so I don't know. Has the plastic grown on you at all? Or?
No, so here's my big problem right now is once I'm done reviewing this phone, I have no idea what phone I want to go back to, right? Because this phone does a lot of good things, but there's also things I can't stand about it. And the hardware being one of them. I tried to put a case on it, but even that just doesn't feel right. Yeah. This phone, someone was mentioning that OnePlus said it's glass. I don't it doesn't feel glass to me. This feels super cheap, and
it does.
And not in the worst way.
OnePlus actually said it's glass. Least. There's no way. We know the frame isn't metal. Right. There's no antenna lines or anything.
Someone in the comments mentioned that OnePlus said the back was glass, so I don't know. I don't have any type of direct comment from OnePlus on that. However, doesn't feel glass. It's got a little bit of weight to it, at least. It feels good in hands.
It's a heavy phone.
Yeah, it's not. I hate the hardware though. The camera module constantly. So when you get these little ridges on these devices, I have dogs, and you pull this thing out of your pocket, and there's always hair stuck in between all these little pieces for the camera, and it connects to the body. There's hair constantly and dust forming around these edges. This glass, this plastic back, whatever, Like, it just doesn't clean up well. When I was having to take pictures of it, like, I'm
Oh yeah.
wiping it for half an hour, blowing on it, freaking wiping. I just don't like the hardware. I'll stick. Here's another thing that I, the alert slider. I used to love the alert
Oh yeah.
slider, but this one is way too.
It
It's too
adjusts when you
sensitive.
put it in and out of your pocket,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah, mine does. It does
constantly.
it on
And I'm
this
like,
too.
oh, dude, I don't want it to be on ring. Like,
Yeah.
so I used to always have my phone on ring for the past 20 effing years. Kellen taught me recently that I should just have my phone on vibrate or silence. And it's changed my life. And
Pretty
it's
great,
great.
yeah.
And so
pretty
now
great.
I'll stick the phone in the pocket and it'll accidentally go to ring. And I get triggered about little things like that. The optical fingerprint reader's trash.
See, and
When
it's
you
pretty good on this 9 Pro, I think.
yeah,
I think
see,
it's like
you
I'm
set it up
impressed
out of
by
the
it.
box. It takes you half an hour to set it up out of the
It
box.
does
Like
take a
you
while.
put every single angle of your finger, and then it doesn't work. And so then I redid it, and it works okay now. Like, it's
Okay.
fine. But
Okay.
there's just like these little things that really irk me about this device. The power button on this phone. Hopefully, it's just me, man. When I double click it to get into the camera, like, I don't mean to.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
say,
pretty sensitive.
yeah,
It
it's
isn't on
just
this one too. Yeah.
too sensitive, man. There's just too much. There's too much sensitivity. This phone's too much.
Yeah.
I
It does
can't
have
do
a
with this
flat
phone.
screen though, right? That one has a flat
Sure.
display. Yeah.
It's a
So this
flat
one, the 9 Pro is curved.
There's a lot of great things about it. Like I said, the performance, the camera's good. It's got the 120 hertz. It's got everything you might want.
Yeah.
But there's like these like little shortcomings. You're like, oh, I can't wait to
Yeah.
get off this phone. It's just some things that just piss me off about it. So I don't
Yeah,
need the Pro.
I-
I don't want the Pro, honestly.
I wish that
too big.
phone had, instead of the 6.55 inch, it was a 6.1 inch, because
Mm.
then it would have been a smallish phone with all that stuff, and then I might have actually
Totally.
considered it. I think it would have been amazing. But still a pretty big phone, right? I don't know if you have anything next to it to compare, but it's pretty big, right?
I've got a Pixel 5 right here. It's pretty big.
It's
I
pretty
mean,
big, yeah.
it's kind of tall.
Yeah. I mean, the Pixel
Man,
5 is borderline small, but
yeah.
yeah.
I just took this thing off a wireless charge and it's like hot. I think I'm gonna leave it off of there for. I don't like
don't.
wireless chargers, man. I'm
don't
I'm
either.
testing this
Well,
one.
this one.
I don't like this one.
This one.
That thing's dope.
Yeah. Look at that. What a weird thing. Okay, so we've talked a lot about these phones.
Yeah.
Battery life. Oh, I haven't talked about this. Battery life on this phone, I have not had great success with battery life. I think you've mentioned the battery life's been fine on that 9. This phone with a 4,500 milliamp hour battery and by the way, the QHD, I have this set to full HD. I haven't cranked it to QHD, but obviously 120 hertz is on. I've had several days where I'm at 25% at 7 o'clock, and that's just not good enough for me because I don't go to bed at 8 o'clock. So
You
that
don't?
means, yeah, that means
Sworn
by
you
the
did.
a lot of times the evenings are my heaviest usage because I'm sitting on the couch or whatever. So 25% at 7, 8 o'clock is not good. So I have not had good battery life out of this phone, and that hasn't changed. Usually it seems like a phone kind of warms up, it breaks in over a couple days. This phone has not. Battery life still not good. So that's like my one biggest concern is the battery life. I mean, I know you can charge it in 2 seconds. I get that, but I don't really want to. I don't want to have to rely on fast charging at 6 p.m. every night. And right now that's kind of where I'm at. So battery life, not a fan there. You mentioned performance and how there's just something special about the way
different.
OnePlus, tunes their phones now, and the responsiveness and stuff. Like, these phones just fly. They're buttery smooth. Their transitions are just smoother than everybody else's. Your swipes and stuff. So those things are all great. I mean, I think generally speaking, I think this is a really excellent phone. For me, look, it's the size of my head. This is not a phone I would probably use going forward just because of the size. But I know I'm in the minority in that all of you guys love ginormous phones that are the size of my head. So I think most people would probably like this phone, assuming the battery life is good for everyone else, otherwise, yeah. I think it really just comes back to if you think OnePlus should be making, $1,000 phones.
Yeah, real quick about the battery. I mean, these phones, you just don't have to worry about it. I've gotten down, now that I'm done sort of testing the battery, I've taken all the screenshots, the screen on time that I need to take. Dude, if this thing's getting low, I just stick it into that charger. and it is full. And you
It's crazy,
literally
actually.
like as soon as you plug it in, you literally watch it has like a digital readout, and you just watch it tick up.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
crazy.
it's amazing. Like you need to plug it in for 10-20 minutes and you've got a full day's worth of charge. Like it's pretty incredible. Maybe people should pay for that. I don't know. I mean, I guess compared to like a Samsung phone or the way Pixels
Or
charge.
Google Pixel phones, how slow they
Oh,
are.
Lord
It is
almighty.
a different world when you can charge your phone entirely in
That
30
quickly.
minutes.
Totally.
I mean, and I've done the test both with the wired charger and the wireless, and we're talking like you're down to 15%, and in 40 minutes it's 100. And like you said, especially the first 20% or so, you can just watch that thing go doop 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 doop. It does actually pretty well. I still wish it lasted longer, but
Sure.
that's my
Well,
only
it's a
issue.
bit small, at least for the 9 Pro, that 4500. Like I would expect 5,000.
I
like,
thought it might
for
have
that device.
bigger.
I thought it was a typo when I read that on your spec sheet. I was like, well, that's not possible. It is possible. That seems wrong to me. So
All right, Maj hit us up with another dono, another $5. Says my 8 Pro's most recent update has the January security update, $1,000 phone, January update. Make it make sense. OnePlus. Yeah, so okay, this is another subject that you sort of briefly touched on earlier. You're paying this much money, like $1,000 for a phone, and software support, right? So these phones are on Android 11 and Oxygen OS 11 out of the box. Somebody asked me, we ran sort of a Q&A thing on the site. People just ask us questions the other day. And somebody said like, yeah, well, is it going to get updates, or when is it going to get updates? So my prediction is that right after Google drops Android 12, probably in early September, like these two phones will get it right away, right? They'll get Android 12. That's kind of been the story the last couple of years, is whatever the newest phone is from OnePlus, they get updated right away. And then they'll launch the 9T with Android 12, right? The problem is, after a year, that starts to slow down. Like right now, the OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro got Android 11 right away in October, right after Google released it. But then the 7, which was only a year old, it took a while. Like they just got it this week. And I know they ran into issues, but so that is the issue with software support. They don't do monthly security patches. They do every couple of months, even quarterly sometimes, I think. So their software support has not gotten better. I don't know if it's gotten worse. I should probably look into that, but it hasn't gotten better. So the first year, you're pretty good. You're going to get lots of updates. The second year, they kind of start slowing down, and then we don't really know what happens after that second year. So that is something to keep in mind. You buy $1,000 phone, is 2 years, one good year and one so-so year worth? It's tough to say.
this week, I mean, so we've got a OnePlus 9. We have a good example. The OnePlus 9 launching this week, or pre-orders out next week. The OnePlus 7 and OnePlus 7 Pro just got Android 11 this week.
And the 7T
right?
all this week.
All this week. And it's been it's March. It's April, basically.
It's half a year, yeah.
Yeah, it's half a year. So, I mean, like I said, down the road after 12 months, just expect things to be a little delayed. God forbid you get a carrier version like a T-Mobile. I don't. Yeah.
Please don't buy
those,
OnePlus carrier versions. They're so slow in updates. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wouldn't do that. But what the hell does OnePlus have going on? What is taking them? So they got 5 people over there working on software.
Yeah, I'm not sure why their software support seems to be as slow as it is. I mean, they have so many phones now. That's part of the problem, right?
Hardware,
and maybe they haven't ramped up the hiring on the software team or something, because they have enough phones that it's. I mean, they're just that's tough there.
Yeah.
Speaking of carriers. We didn't really talk about this. T-Mobile is selling both of these, the 9 Pro and the 9. Verizon is not. So, last year Verizon had the 8. They didn't have the 8 Pro, but they had the 8. So Verizon skipped. You can buy the unlocked versions. They will work on AT&T and Verizon also. You won't get 5G on either of them, which sucks. OnePlus did say that they are working with Verizon to get support for 5G. They got to certify it. I do not believe that's happened yet. We will sort of keep you updated on that. But they will work on Verizon, but only 4G for now. So if you buy an unlocked 9 Pro and take it over to Verizon, you're supposedly only getting 4G. I don't have a Verizon SIM in mine because it's not fully supported. Supposedly I have a T-Mo SIM in, but yeah. So that's the situation with the carriers, which is not good. So it's never great to see your new flagship phones not launch with a bunch of carrier partners in the US. But that's And we're talking one less this year than last year. So,
I mean, I wouldn't recommend that stuff anyway. So,
yeah. Did you see a
Anthony.
comment?
Oh yeah, well, Anthony in the chat says if you care about updates, you go Pixel. I
Or
will
Samsung.
see your I'll see your comment and raise you if you care about updates. You go Samsung. I mean, they're the king of Android updates
They're the
right
king
now.
of updates. Yeah.
Yep, we got a whole post and 5,000 comments to back that up. So
This is correct. So, final sort of thought here. I know this sort of has to do with something I wrote up this morning where I was talking. It was like a Galaxy S21 Plus deal, right? Where you can get a Galaxy S21 Plus for $100 right now if you trade in a Samsung phone or whatever. And then on my sort of personal Twitter account, I was mocking Motorola because Samsung is now taking some Motorola phones in their trade-in program. But like the Motorola Edge Plus, which is $1,000 phone, they're going to give you like $165 for it. And their Razer 5G, which is like a $1,500 foldable or $1,400 or whatever, they were going to give you like $200, right? These phones aren't even, they're like maybe a year old, 1,000 plus phones. And I was just mocking it because I was like, Samsung's just straight disrespecting. But someone asked me on Twitter, what about OnePlus? Can you trade them into Samsung? And so this is kind of where one other issue happens with OnePlus phones. So if you go on Samsung's site, we're now multiple months into this, but they run this trade-in program, right? So they might sell the Ultra at $1,200, but you're never paying full price for the Ultra at $1,200. You're paying $900, $800, $700, depending on what you're trading in. They'll let you trade. And so you could, I mean, sure, you could pay $1,200. You're not going to because you have something you can trade in to get money.
Yep.
Unless it's a OnePlus phone, right? So OnePlus phones, if you have them, there's no trade-in market for them anywhere. There might be some like weird reseller trade-in sites somewhere that might, but not on Samsung. Not Apple doesn't want them. I don't think Google wants them. I mean, you can't. Like you get one and you're just eating that price and that you paid. And then on top of that, back to Samsung offering promos, OnePlus can't do that. We'll give you $700 all the time for whatever phone you're trading. Like OnePlus, like you go in and they might run a promo here and there where it's like $100 off, whatever their phone is. But that's kind of it. You get 100, they might do 150 off their newest phone. They're just not in the position that Samsung is to let you get their brand new phone for like half the price, right? So with OnePlus, number one, the discounts are harder to find unless you buy them through a carrier, which we told you not to do. And then two, once you have them, you want to upgrade, you don't really have anywhere to trade them in. So they might make really good phones, but like one of the big things that Apple has lived on forever is that their phones retain value. And Samsung to an extent does. But like OnePlus phone, you buy it, I don't know that it has any value after you bought it, unless you just try to resell it on Swappa or something, right? So that's kind of the issue. You're stuck then with a phone and you might not be able to get anything back for it. So
I mean, you could always sell your OnePlus device to Eco ATM and get yourself $25 of cash.
Right.
I mean, and sell your phone to the Eco ATM while you're turning in your cans that you collected over the night. I mean, those Eco ATMs, don't do it, guys. Don't do the Eco ATM.
I don't even know what that is, but it sounds like you get more value than you would from Samsung for a OnePlus phone.
Maybe. Jimmy Metters asked a very interesting question that chat I wanted to get to real quick. He said, unlock Samsung or carrier Samsung? Now, it totally depends on what the question is about. But if you're talking about updates, get yourself a Verizon Samsung device, man. Those phones are getting updates quicker than all of them. It's ridiculous. And like the last thing you want is an unlocked, right? Because you're always a month or two behind everybody else. So
yeah, but I would stop you for just 1 second. So if you care about beta builds of new versions, you get unlocked. So this is what's so annoying about Samsung is we always tell you to buy unlocked typically because you can take them anywhere. They're just they have less bloatware and all this stuff, right? When it comes to updates, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, actually T-Mobile's a little bit slower. AT&T and Verizon are pretty quick. They update their Samsung phones really quickly. Unlocked Yeah, you often get everything after all the carriers, except for whenever they open their beta program. They always let the unlocked, and then I think typically like the T-Mobile version in, like those get in. And so you like when Android 12 and whatever One UI version comes next, like the unlocked versions will get to test that before everyone. But then when the stable build of Android 12 comes out, you'll be last. Like it's so broken and stupid, but that's so. Yeah, if you want updates the quickest, carriers typically, but if you want in that beta program, you gotta go unlocked. It's just it's so silly.
It's hard. It's not like if you want to jump from phone to phone, it's not like the easiest thing to do these days. Yeah, I mean, it's hard if you're constantly worried about getting updates or getting your money's worth from the other conversation we were having. Like, damn, I mean, it's freaking hard out here for phone flippers, man. Crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in the chat saying just sell your phones. I mean, I guess if you want to deal with selling on SwapUp, by all means, do it.
If you want to time it right, it depends. Like, do you want to be one of the first people to have a device? I mean, like, you got to sell it preemptively, knowing that you're going to want to buy that next device. I mean, and then sell. I don't know. We sell stuff on Swap, but we've got our own swap of stuff like from phones that we've had just in the drawer for 5 years. So if you're ever looking for a great deal on a phone, check out the Droid Life Swap page. I don't think we were selling.
That's right. We did that for a while.
But yeah, we had stuff. We had Galaxy Note 3s or something like that for yeah.
We did. We sold a bunch of stuff on there.
Sold stuff. Anyway, if you can sell your device, totally make most money you totally can. So I guess that's the point. But if you want, what's so good about the Samsung Instant Trade-in is that instant money you get towards the device purchase, right? And that's what we like about it. So, and since we have to buy our own Samsung devices because Samsung hates us, I mean, that's the way we have to do it.
That's the way we got to roll.
Keeping it very transparent for our people.
So anyway, to kind of wrap up OnePlus 9 Pro, Tim and I will have reviews up in probably just a few days.
Yep.
The pre-orders are open now if you want to buy these. In the US, it's only the top end models, I believe. So if you want a OnePlus 9 Pro, you can't get the $969 version. You have to get the $1,000 version. And I believe it's the same with the 9. Do we want to talk about the OnePlus 9R for about 2 seconds? I don't know that I really care about the OnePlus 9R, but there's a OnePlus 9R. Is it in India? Is that where the OnePlus 9R is?
Yes.
You wrote something about the 9R yesterday, which I think is just kind of a rebranded 8T or something with. It's not coming here, so again, I haven't paid a single ounce of attention to it.
Yeah, the 9R. Yeah, let's talk about it real quick. Let me pull up my post. That way, I have the right specs. Okay, so what would be at about $550 US? The 9R. It's got the 6.55 inch 1080p OLED with 120 hertz. It's got a Snapdragon 870 processor.
Okay.
Up to 12 gigs of RAM. No. Let's see, 4,500 milliamp hour battery, just like the 9 and the 9 Pro, with the 65 watt fast wire charging. It's basically a 9, except without the Snapdragon 888.
Yeah.
It also is missing one other thing. No Hasselblad camera nonsense.
Right.
Basically, what the 9 should have been. No offense, Hasselblad. But $550. I don't know what's to not like about this device. The problem is that it would contradict or whatever. It would go up against what OnePlus is selling the OnePlus 8 Pro for right now. Because it's still below at $550. It's well below the 9, but it hurts them trying to sell any inventory they have left of the 8 Pro, I suppose. But I mean, the 9R sounds like a solid device if you're in India. I saw someone mention there's something else they took out for the 9R, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. I'm sorry. Like, we aren't very versed in phones that aren't coming to the U.S., so I apologize for that. But
we're a U.S. outlet. I have no idea.
Exactly. But it seems cool.
Yeah, that's great.
It might come here. They didn't rule that out technically, so we shall see.
I mean, in my conversations with their PR team, they didn't once mention it because they know we're a US outlet only. They didn't bring it up a single. They didn't even say like, "Hey, we're also launching this in India, just so you have a heads up." They didn't even like mention it to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and assume it's not coming here ever.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
Someone mentioned it may be missing wireless charging. If so, that kind of sucks. But yeah, I mean, at least it's got that fast wired charging. I mean, who needs wireless charging when you can 65-watt like warp charge?
I don't know. Until somebody does like ultra fast wireless charging that's MagSafe style, that's just where the thing sticks to your phone, you can pick it up. I don't care about it sitting in a dock wireless charging. What's the point? Just plug it in.
Oh,
you can still use your phone while it's plugged in.
Yeah, Yash in the chat says, "What's your opinion on OnePlus dropping OIS and wireless charging?" OIS, that sucks. I mean, your camera's gonna be not ideal probably for shooting moving targets or anything like that. You better get yourself a little handy dandy tripod.
Yeah, see, I don't like that if they're cutting versions depending on, or cutting features from different countries and stuff like that. That's just, it's like Motorola does that with NFC, right? They have NFC chips in all their overseas phones, and then they bring those cheap ones here, and they're like, yeah, we left out NFC. And we're always like, wait, what? Why would you do that? It probably costs pennies. It's just so stupid. So anyway, so that's OnePlus 9 stuff. Again, review soon. We just talked for an hour about that, so I think that's plenty. Should we briefly talk about this here OnePlus watch?
Yeah, sure. We'll give you 60 seconds.
60 seconds to talk about the OnePlus. This is
not
not
even
the
Wear
OnePlus
OS,
watch,
dude. I mean, like, I don't know why we're in.
This is not the OnePlus watch, but it will look just like this. We promise. So OnePlus did announce the OnePlus watch this week. We knew it wasn't going to be Wear OS, and it is most definitely not Wear OS. It is RTOS, a real-time operating system, custom operating system they made. I'm assuming it's the same basic thing that runs on their fitness band, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more robust, just because it's in a watch form factor. But we saw the OnePlus Health app, and that's where all the watch faces were stored, and so we kind of knew this was coming. It is a $159 watch, and it's a fitness tracker. They paid special attention to like the design, right? Like it's stainless steel and there's a couple different colors and it looks pretty slick. It's kind of big. 46 millimeters is going to be big on almost anyone's wrist. I'm not really sure why they went so damn big with it, but on a single charge, it could last up to 2 weeks, and it'll track everything. It's got blood oxygen and heart rate and sleep, and it'll track all your exercises, and you can load music onto it to listen to songs over Bluetooth headphones. And it's got some version of warp charge, although the charging's not wireless. It's like one of those pin connectors like most Wear OS watches have. In 5 minutes, you can get a day's use. For 20 minutes, you can get a week. It has GPS, so that's probably why the size is bigger, I'm going to assume there. So that's great. So you can standalone workout on it. The US is only getting the black version, but there's also a silver sort of stainless version. And then there's a special cobalt version, which is also not coming here. So US is only getting the black version, they told me. If you want to save $20 on it, they're doing this coupon program right now where you can go kind of claim a voucher coupon. It'll take $20. So that drops it to $139. It's the lack of Wear OS, I think, makes it really hard to talk about and get excited about, which we talked a little bit about last week. I think at $139 if you're looking for a fitness tracker that has very tiny smarts, that it could be a good option for, like, if you don't want a band, like a workout band, like these things. This is a $159 workout machine that looks like a watch, and it might do a good job of that if you trust OnePlus and their sort of health tracking technology. And they've only made one fitness product so far, the OnePlus Band. And I looked at the Play Store's OnePlus Health app rating the other day, and everyone seems to think it is awful. So I don't know if they have a big update planned for it for this watch, but they better get their software, like their main companion app, in line, because so far it's not looking great over there. I haven't tested that band, but the app reviews are really, really bad. So it's not a Wear OS watch. We don't know if they're making a Wear OS watch ever. They may. We don't know. They're just the latest company to ignore it. Google doesn't have a lot of partners there left. So, I will get one in-house. I'll wear it and test it and let you guys know. But yeah, it's this sort of new, and again, this is like the Amazfit GTR 2 or something. This is this category of smart-ish watch that just tracks all the health stuff and then kind of relays notifications, maybe lets you take some calls. And I don't think it's bad because, like, look at this thing. It's thin. It's a nice size. I think this thing is much smaller than 46 mil, but this is kind of the new category where you don't have a fitness band. You have what looks like a watch, but I don't know if that's a big appealed market. Certainly not to the tech crowd, which would have fallen all over a Wear OS watch. So, birds are in the chat. Says just buy a Garmin if you want to track fitness stuff. I would argue, yes, just buy a Garmin if you really want to seriously track fitness stuff. But a Garmin is $600, whereas, this thing is $159. So disappointing, but I don't know. We've seen this coming, so it kind of is what it is there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the update on
I know I don't really I'm like trying to be somewhat excited about just testing another wearable.
It's not an exciting device.
I like testing wearable stuff, but this one I am having a hard time getting.
OnePlus isn't a fitness company, man. Like, this is a bad idea. Like, I think a smartwatch would have been a better play. Yes. At least I feel like, not a 100%. Fitness device. So.
They were talking about how you can control your OnePlus TV. Well, you sell the OnePlus TV in one country. Like, I can't use that.
No.
You could reply to text messages apparently on the watch, but I think that's pretty much it. It'll show you other notifications, but you can't do anything with it. It seems like an odd move. I'm surprised that they're making it global. It seems like a product that maybe should have just been sold in specific countries, not global. Because global, I think people wanted Wear OS, not
sure.
But that's where we're at. So we'll get one. I will test one, you guys. He'll
love it.
One. I don't think so because it's 46 millimeters. That's big.
It's
a big watch. Like the TicWatch Pro 3 is, the best Wear OS watch you can buy. It's 46 and it's huge. Like I put on my wrist again the other day and was like, that thing is huge. So yeah, that's all they announced. I mean, they announced a bunch of accessories too. Like you can, besides the wireless charger, every phone comes with this big guy. This is the 65 watt charger. Actually, I think these are on sale right now. If you're a OnePlus fan, you own OnePlus phones that support 65 watt. These things are on sale for like $25. They're normally 40, I think. That's pretty good. Cases. I had a case somewhere. It's not on. I don't know.
Excellent. Well, I'm sorry we don't have trivia, but that was a good little consolidated, condensed show right there.
46 millimeters is exactly what you want. What do you mean? No way. You don't want a giant hulk of a watch when you're working out. You want the exact opposite of that.
Wrist? I don't get that. That's weird.
Yeah, like for years I had the Garmin Fenix 5, I think is the watch I used the longest. And it was 46 or 7. And I got he put sarcasm. Okay. I got so sick of the size that I went down to the smaller, like 6S, I think. Which I think oftentimes they try to push towards women with smaller wrists, but I was like, no, I'm a human with normal sized wrists. I don't want a giant watch. Anyway, okay, I get the sarcasm now. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent. Well, again, we'll have our OnePlus reviews up early next week, and yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let us know. We've got a dedicated OnePlus 9 little Q&A post. And
on the site, we do have a Q&A. We just said ask us questions about it. We've answered a bunch of questions in there if you have any, but feel free to jump in there. We might take another look at it this weekend and see if we can't answer any. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. One question: will unlocked Galaxy S21 Ultra support all the 4G, 5G bands on T-Mobile, including millimeter wave? Yes.
I believe so. I have not looked at the S21 Ultra's unlocked specific bands, but I assume so, just because that phone should have everything.
It absolutely should.
Do you think we're getting a Pixel 5a this year? Yeah. I think we'll see a Pixel 5a probably in a month. That's my guess. I don't have any information on that, but I think we've seen enough signs that one's coming that if there is sort of a Google I/O-ish period of time, I'd imagine they're targeting again that. So I'd say, yeah, we'll get a 5a. As for 6 and 6Ls and foldables, I think
we see leaks by now already. So
it has been very weird to not have all the Google leaks And maybe that just means they're taking their sweet time and that stuff just hasn't, gotten around yet.
Yeah.
How do you rate Portland's moves at the trade deadline? Oh, yes. Hot sports talk is here. Tim's mad.
Well, I'm disappointed just because I loved Gary Trent Jr. I think the kid's got a super high ceiling in comparison to we just got someone who's probably at his ceiling. And I think Gary Trent could have been a little bit above that. I know that Kellen disagrees. However, I would counter that Gary Trent Jr. looks like The Weeknd, and that automatically makes him better than pretty much everybody.
That does typically make everyone great.
Yeah, the way he wore his shorts, a little higher than most, they weren't super low. He's got his hair done up. The dude, he's just a good-looking human being, dude. I liked having him on my team. He's a Duke.
Which is why I immediately don't like him.
No, see, I love Duke. Love Duke. Love The Weeknd.
You do not love Duke. No one loves Duke.
I love Duke. I love Duke, and I love Alabama. So I mean,
and no one loves Alabama either.
Man, what are you gonna do?
This is just I can't take any more of this. Gary Trent can go away. It's fine. We got a guy who can score now.
Oh, Grayson Allen though, yeah, he sucks. I
the
don't like
legend.
Grayson Allen. Yeah,
but see, everyone from Duke is Grayson Allen.
No
Duke
way.
is nothing but Grayson Allen. It's
Lord.
Who could cheer for a program that would bring in Grayson Allen? No one. No one cheers for that.
He was redshirted 5 years in a row. So he was playing college at 30. But that's fine. Whatever, dude. I don't know. Give me Duke. Give me Bama. I know you don't care, but 49ers making huge draft
go Seahawks.
moves.
I can't wait for the Seahawks to stomp on them forever and ever. I'm doing this now just because you said you like Duke and Alabama. I do not like the Seahawks at all. I do not like the Seahawks at all.
But Niners picking up that number 3 draft pick for this upcoming season. We're going to get ourselves a little franchise QB. We're going to be, dude, things are looking up. Oh, Jimmy G, the porn star. Get out of here. Lost us that Super Bowl to those dang Chiefs. Ooh,
man.
It's good time for sports unless you're a San Francisco Giants fan. We're gonna get absolutely creamed this season. We're going up against these super teams and the Padres and the Dodgers. Oh Jesus, I know the Padres, right? They're incredible.
No one's mentioned the Padres since Tony Gwynn or something.
Oh my Lord,
50 years ago.
Get on Twitter. Look at their lineup, dude. Holy crap!
I don't do baseball.
I mean. Okay, my bad. I'm just saying. They're good. They're good now. So.
All right, that's good.
That's good. And R.I.P. Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn was absolutely amazing.
He was a beast.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's about it. The tourney resumes today, right?
I think today.
So. Yeah. So the tourney resumes today. I think the person in the lead in the DL bracket challenge is a buddy of mine, which is kind of crazy. I don't know who the hell he's picked. He's an Oregon State alum, so I'm pretty sure he just picked Oregon State to win everything. So if Oregon State keeps going, my buddy's probably going to win our DL bracket challenge.
Yeah, well, I've got Beavers going all the way, so let's go.
Oh, you might be right there then. I do not have that. I had them losing in the first round because I do not like the Oregon State Beavers.
Jesus.
I like?
I don't know. I
don't know either.
I don't know. You're just a hater, man.
I do love to hate.
Anyway, thank you everyone again for joining us on this lovely Friday. We next show we will have trivia back in action. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Sure. Trivia will indeed be back. And so look forward to the reviews next week. We'll have some more videos too, like first 10 things and all that stuff. If you guys want to get into that stuff, you're buying the OnePlus 9 Pro, we will have you covered. All right, have a safe weekend, everyone. We're Droid Life.
Peace.
Peace.